What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Raw Recovery, the community. Today is a different episode. I'm actually recording live on TikTok, and I'm actually recording for the podcast simultaneously. So my guests can see me recording, see a little bit of the background of what we do behind the scenes, but also get this episode out. And the reason why I felt like it was important to do the live while I was doing this podcast is because I got a lot of feedback from the episode that we shared with one of our guests who actually stopped to ask me how I got sober. So typically, when I'm interviewing my guests, I just like to let them have the floor. You know, it's a show that I created, but it's a show that is for everyone. It's a community for everyone to be able to discuss the things that they are suffering from. But while I was speaking to the guest, he stopped and he just asked me randomly, "Well, how did you get sober?" And it's a story that I've told before, but being put on the spot is, you know, it's just, you have to just let all those emotions go, start thinking about it again. And I'm 5 years sober. So every time I tell the story, it still hits, like it resonates so deep. Like I don't know when it might not hurt as much to think about my addiction and my past, but right now it's still hard. You know what I'm saying? Even when I'm in my alone time and I think about some of the things and some of the places that I've been while I was in my addiction, sober Danny can't handle that. Like some of the things that I remember that I did, I literally scare myself. I literally get frightened thinking of some of the things that I did because sober Danny couldn't imagine waking up in a trap house. Sober Danny couldn't imagine sleeping with a dude just for a place to have somewhere to sleep just for the night. You know what I mean? Like that's just, and not to mention, I got the nerve to be a germophobic. Like imagine being a germophobic addict. It was a hard one for me. So like, just thinking about like trying to always be drunk or have some sort of like alcohol in my system just so I wouldn't go through withdrawal. Those are some of the things that pop up in my head. So when I have to think about my story to share, that's why you might see me stumbling or getting a little choked up on my words, because it's scary. The thoughts are scary. So I said briefly about how I got sober. I went cold turkey, which let me be clear, that's not something that we support doing. Like if you're ready to get sober from whatever substance you're using, we really encourage you to go detox safely, go to a hospital, some treatment facility that is specialized in doing that. Again, my drug of choice is alcohol. And as I was stressing earlier, it's the deadliest drug. And I have went through withdrawal from alcohol so many times. But the last time that I went through withdrawal, my body just couldn't take it. And I almost lost my life. So unfortunately, I've tried to get sober so many times, but it just didn't stick. And this last time, I wasn't even I wasn't consciously trying to get sober. One of the questions that was asked was, when was I ready to get sober? And it's hard for me to say because I never really planned to stop drinking. I didn't know I had a problem. I had so many things in my head why I was able to say why I didn't have a problem. You know what I mean? Like I kept a job when I could keep a job. There was eventually I just couldn't keep a job, but like I kept a job. I had my own place. I had cars. You know what I mean? So these are things that you think about when you're trying to decide, am I alcoholic? Like whenever someone's like debating, am I alcoholic? That's when it's kind of like a sign, like, because if you're wondering if you're an alcoholic, try just not drinking and see how that goes for you. Because for me, it was like, I couldn't imagine not drinking. I can't explain it. It was just like, I never get to drink again. So it was just hard for me to even picture a life that didn't involve alcohol. And quiet as it's kept, like you still have a good life without alcohol. Like I still go out, I still do, I go to celebrations, I do I just don't drink. But again, as we were saying earlier, alcohol is just so widely accepted that it's easy to get, start drinking because everybody around you is probably already drinking, for a celebration, for birthdays. Just when you're at the dinner table, people have, a glass of wine. Walking down the street, there's the liquor stores, you know what I'm saying? Like, and again, like I was saying, just going into the grocery store, there's beverages on the shelf. So it's always around you. So for me, it was just the temptation. It was too much for me. But I never planned to get sober. It took me almost losing my life to get sober. There was a time when drinking was just so much fun. I never would have expected that something that I used to love to do would literally be almost the end of me. I couldn't imagine being able to just, once the drinking had gotten so bad, I couldn't even leave my house without drinking. And I remember one of the first nights that I was drinking, because I never used to drink alone, and I was struggling with falling asleep. And I took a couple of shots and I slept like a baby. This is me just remembering when like I really took a turn. And I really believe it has to do with me wanting to just get some sleep. Like I remember not getting good enough sleep. And after I took these shots, the next day I just woke up so refreshed. I'll never forget like how refreshed I felt. And I wanted to always feel that way, like that good morning refreshed feeling. So I did it again. A couple nights spread out, but then I did it again. And it was the same rejuvenating feeling. I woke up just so refreshed. And so I did it again. And then eventually it just becomes a pattern. But unbeknownst to me, alcohol causes insomnia. You know what I'm saying? So here I am drinking, thinking it's helping me go to sleep. But my body is actually building a tolerance to the alcohol, to whereas now it's not helping me go to sleep. It's literally keeping me up. If you've never suffered from insomnia, addiction and insomnia are two things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Staying up for days at a time, that's not something you hear about alcohol. You hear about that with these other drugs, people binges on other drugs, but you don't hear about how alcohol can have you forgetting what day it is because you've been up for 2 days, 3 days. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear about how alcohol, you get so addicted to alcohol that you can't even eat because the insides of your stomach is burning so much that you don't want any food in there. And the only thing that will make the burning sensation subside is alcohol. That is addiction. When your body only feels better because of the substance that you're putting in it. And again, alcohol is so accepted, we don't think about the long-term effects of what it's going to do to us. I never would have thought that alcohol would have sent me on a 7-year addiction. I never would have thought that alcohol was going to send me to homelessness and end up eventually in New York in a state where I don't know anybody. That's where my rabbit hole led to. So, and with drinking, it's so gradual that eventually you just don't feel normal without it. I didn't even want to leave my house without I definitely wasn't leaving my house without something in my book bag, because God forbid if I ended up somewhere and there was no alcohol in sight, I didn't want to have even just minor withdrawals. And that would just start with the cramping. Again, alcohol started off fun, but then it just became a part of my daily, like it became a part of it wasn't something I wanted, it was something I needed, just to get through, not even just the next day. I had to have alcohol consumption at least every hour, or I was going to start like seizing up, shaking. It's called the shakes. As I was explaining on the last episode, I didn't really know what was going on with me. The first time I had the shakes, I was trying to brush my teeth and my hand just started shaking. That's a sign of withdrawal, and it's very dangerous. If you're experiencing the shakes, I'm begging you to please go seek some type of help, because detoxing on your own is just it's not safe. So, what got me sober? It's unfortunate that we as addicts, our brain just, the way we think is crazy. And I certainly knew after a while that I was a full-blown alcoholic, most certainly. But I remember telling myself that I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop drinking. I know it's bad if there's blood in my stool. I remember saying that to myself over and over. And I don't know why I thought that was the determining factor of that's how you know it's bad. But unfortunately, I got to the part where it got that bad. And when my body shut down, because again, I was going through withdrawal for about 4 days, and my body was just shutting down. Eventually as I was saying, I got to the point where there was, blood in my stool, and this happened at work. And I was trying to get to an ER closer to where I lived. So I called an Uber, but at this point, my body is so full of alcohol and poison that, when you're drinking alcohol for so long, it literally affects every organ. And it even made it so that I was putting on weight, but it wasn't just weight. It was like water weight. Like my body was just retaining so much water that I was just full of so much liquid. And the reason I bring that up is because during the time when I seen the blood in my stool while I was at work, I called an Uber to try to get to the ER, but I couldn't get to the Uber fast enough because my body was so full of liquid. So I missed the Uber. While I missed that cab, I was in the midst of getting ready to call another cab, but I passed out at work. And when I passed out, my coworkers, they were phenomenal. They hurried up and called the ambulance, called EMS, and the ambulance came and rushed me to one of the greatest hospitals in New York, which was Mount Sinai. And once I got there, they immediately just went to work on me because they seen that I was literally dying. Fast forward, I woke up in the ICU. I really don't remember what happened in between me getting rushed to the emergency room from work to getting to the hospital. I remember getting to the hospital. I remember, speaking to the doctors, but from there, I don't remember how I ended up in the ICU. So when I woke up in the ICU, that's when I was informed that, they had put me in an induced coma. That's why, I woke up to a fog. I was going in and out of sleep. And after some time, the doctor was able to come in and speak to me when I was in my clearer state. And he was just telling me, it's not looking good. You did a lot of damage. The drinking has finally caught up to you. And I'm just laying in the bed because I can't even move at this time. And all I can do is process what the doctor is saying. And he's like, you have a 50-50 chance to live. There's a chance that you may not make it out this hospital. But it still just wasn't, I don't know what it is about addiction, but it still just was not registering with me that I was an addict. Like I still, even after the doctor said that I had a 50-50 chance, I'm still just thinking in my head, okay, you need to slow down with drinking. A normal person who is not an addict would not be thinking, okay, you just need to slow down with drinking. A normal person who has normal functioning brain cells would be like, you don't need to drink anymore because you almost just died from it. Yet I couldn't even wait to get up out the hospital to get my next drink. So yeah, even people say, what's your rock bottom? Everybody's rock bottom is different. Like, look at me, I'm laying in the hospital bed fighting for my life, but I'm still not at rock bottom. I'm still thinking how I can still drink. But I will say, I was fortunate to have my mother come in to the hospital where I was, and like I said on the last episode, my mother looked me in my eyes and said she's not living without her daughter. And that was the day that I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to drink anymore, because I didn't want liquor to be my final ending story. I didn't want that to be how I left this earth. So lying in the ICU, thinking about what my next move is, because at this point, I finally have surrendered to the fact that I am an alcoholic. I can't drink. But when you're in the ICU, and then after leaving that, because I was in the ICU for about a month and a half, and then they had me transition into, the regular part of the hospital, where I was there for like another month, and just there for weeks and days at a time. You have nothing but time to think about your life. And I'm thinking about how the hell I ended up in New York. I came to New York homeless. My ex-boyfriend asked me to come to New York, and on some drunk shit, I said, yeah. Like, I came to New York with a book bag on my back, and that's it. Normal people don't do that. Normal people process the pros and the cons. They give it time to think. I came the moment he asked me did I want to come, I came. Yeah, I could just, remember lying in the hospital bed, wondering what my next move was going to be. Still very confused, had a lot of fear, because at this point, I'm starting to come back to reality. I'm not in the inebriated state, and I'm realizing how messed up my life really is. And I just don't know what my next move is. But I do know at this point I'm not going to drink anymore. So I hope that was able to kind of touch on what got me sober. Unfortunately, I didn't surrender how some people surrender. I had to be like knocking on death's door to realize that I can't drink anymore. I am a cirrhosis survivor. I had cirrhosis of the liver due to my excessive drinking. But, I work with a liver specialist. So I have to go to her once or twice a year. She runs the tests, make sure that, it's proper functioning. It's considered undetected. So she knows, and I know that I have cirrhosis, but the tests, it appears as if I have a normal functioning liver. And I get to have a normal functioning liver, and I get to have employment, and I get to have a place of my own. These are all the things I get to have if I just stay sober. So these are things that I think about. I know that some people in recovery spaces, they use this term. It's called play to tape, which basically just means you know how the movie ends. You know how the story ends. You watched the movie several times, and you know what happens at the end. For me, picking up a drink means I lose. It means cirrhosis is coming back. The only thing that keeps my cirrhosis away is not drinking. That's literally it. That means I'm again homeless, sleeping with people just for a place to sleep at night. It means that I'm losing family and friends, and I can't keep a job. One thing about it, I could get a job. I don't know how, because I used to be in them interviews drunk as hell. I could get a job, but I couldn't keep a job. So me playing the tape means I lose everything. And like I said, I came to New York with a book bag on my back, and now I'm looking for space in my little apartment. I'm running out of space to put stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose everything that I've worked, that the Most High has allowed me to get back. I've lost so much, but I've gotten way more back. Addiction isn't flattering. While you're going through it, you're doing a lot of things that you're not proud of, and people ask me a lot of questions that it's hard for me to talk about, but I still share my story because I really don't want it to happen to anyone else. So yeah, one of the things that someone was asking is like, where have you gone in your addiction? What are some of the things that where are some of the places that your addiction has taken you? And unfortunately, I can't even remember half of the shit that has happened to me that I've been involved in, because blackouts are real. Like it's literally a time where like you've drank so much that your mind blanks out anything that was happening during that time. I'll say one thing that used to just really piss me off and just make me just have the feeling like that I hated myself is just like waking up in a bed where I didn't remember how I knew the guy. You know what I'm saying? There was this time where I had to like look at the pictures around his house so I could remember who the individual was. You know what I'm saying? But I did that often because I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have a place to sleep. And I know some people are probably wondering, well, you're really close to your parents and you have a lot of love for your parents. I want to be clear about something. I have a very good family. I have a family who loves me, who loved on me through my addiction. But you're a different person when you're in your addiction. You become someone you don't know. You do things that you wouldn't normally do. So my family, they had to put me at bay because I was bringing harm to the doorstep. I was around a lot of shady characters, so changing the locks on me was what they had to do, literally just to be safe. Like when you're in the streets and you're with some different people, I ended up, there was this one time I didn't even know I was in a different city. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how far gone my mind was. So imagine the type of shady characters that I could have been bringing around my family. I have 2 young nephews, At the time, I only had 1 nephew, but, that can't be something that they're seeing. So if anyone is wondering like, oh, I could never do that to my family. And, until you've dealt with an addict, you don't know how stressful it is. You don't know how much we put our families through. So I wanted to tap in on that because I love my family very much. And I know you guys see me post with my family, so it might get confusing as to how did I end up homeless and in the streets if I had such a loving family. But the bottom line is I became unsafe to everybody around me, including myself. So so that's essentially how I ended up, having to be with different people for a place to sleep. And then, at the end of the day, I didn't even know some of these people. You know what I'm saying? They're legit strangers to me. So it was just a very unsafe time in my life. And again, when I was saying earlier, when I think back, sober Danny couldn't imagine some of the things that I was involved in and some of the things that I was doing while I was in my addiction, because it literally frightens me. I could never imagine waking up to a man that I don't know. I could never imagine ending up in a different city. Not only ending up in a different city, I'm so inebriated and drunk that I'm in a different city, but I think I'm originally coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I still think I'm in Pittsburgh, but I'm in a whole different city. And the only reason why I know I was in a different city is because one of my good friends who I was able to hold on to this one because I lost a lot of friends during my addiction. I called her one time and I asked her to come get me. She told me to send her my location. She's like, girl, you ain't even in Pittsburgh. but she still came and got me. Shout out Monique. I'll never forget you. That's why I go hard for you to this day. But stuff like that, like and the reason why I need to shout out my homegirl is because, like, as much as my parents loved me, they could not have me in their house. And if it wasn't for this particular friend allowing me to always come, even when I was clearly drunk, she just always kept her door open because she knew I possibly might have needed to come to her house. So, shout out to your friends that we drive crazy, that, because your family, they got to forgive you. A lot of the times, your family going to forgive you, but your friends, if you're able to stick it out with them, and it's nothing against your friends that you lose, right? Because it's hard. We put people through a lot of things, but I just want to be clear about the fact that while we're putting you guys through it, you got to know we don't even know what the hell is going on with us. Especially in the beginning, because ain't no way you gonna tell me I'm an alcoholic, especially when I got a job, especially when I get up and go to that job to work every day, and I don't need anything from that. How am I alcoholic, right? So you don't really know what's going on with you. So it makes sense that you're going to lose relationships. It makes sense that you're not going to be able to hold on to them. I'm only saying for the individuals that are able to stick it out, we want to shout you out because it's not easy. I've been an addict, but I've never been a friend of an addict. I've never been a family member of an addict. I've never been on the other side. I do feel, though, I want to stress, because my loyalty is unmatched. I do feel that I do know that I would have maneuvered differently than some of the people that were in my inner circle. But that's just me. I can't expect or even be upset that people don't move the same way. That's not a flex. That's not to say something negatively about the next person. Everybody is built differently. And some things are just not for everybody. Like my one homegirl was telling me, she's a social worker. She deals with people in recovery every day. You know what I'm saying? So, and she does that for her employment. So to have to do that for work and to have to deal with someone like that in your personal time, that's not something she's wants to sign up for. And I have to understand, like, I have to respect that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'll say this: I am definitely here for the person who's still suffering. I am definitely here to be the voice of the addict, the voice of the voiceless, because we are in this together. People need people, and no one should have to get sober alone. No one should have to do any recovering alone, and not just from addiction. Like we said, heartbreak, homelessness, incarceration, whatever it is that you're in recovery from, you shouldn't have to feel like you have to do it alone. And I'm going to keep stressing that on this platform, we are a community. We're going to be raw with it. We're going to tell you like it is, but that's not to be confused with judgment. There's no place for that here. So what keeps me sober? So many things keep me sober. The very fact that I don't want to ever be homeless again. The very fact that I don't like asking people for things. I like to have my own money, and drinking, my addiction means I can't keep a job. I can't maintain employment to have my own thing. So definitely fear of not having my basic necessities met. And if I'm being real with you, I never want to experience withdrawal again. Withdrawal, not only is it deadly, it's so scary, all the way down to the anxiety you feel, the shakes, the possible seizures that you can face. And what's not talked about a lot is your mind. It does its own thing when you're severely under the influence, when you're severely in your addiction, all the way down to your dreams. you're not like your dreams. You don't have dreams anymore. They're just nightmares. When you're in your addiction, I can't remember, once I was deep in my addiction, I can't remember one good dream I had. And even when I was like trying to get sober, like those beginning dreams, they're just so scary. Like I'm stuttering because it's just like the places your mind can go when you're in your addiction. I had a dream one time. So nasty. I had a dream one time that this kid started spitting up on my hand, and I started eating it. I had a dream that this man, he claimed to be my new neighbor, but he wanted to show me a magic trick, and he could just keep popping his head off, popping it off and on, off and on, off and on. I know it probably doesn't make sense, but it's literally these dreams. And when I'm saying you're suffering from insomnia, if you finally fall asleep and have a scary ass dream like that wakes you out your sleep, it's called like restless sleep. Like you're asleep, but your body is so into these scary dreams that you're not even having good sleep. I don't ever want to suffer from insomnia. So I'm speaking about when I actually finally fell asleep, but there were times where I was up for days at a time and I didn't even know what the day was, what today's date was, because when you're in your addiction, days run together. I stay sober because I know that there's nothing for me in the bottle except for death. And I can't just have one drink. So I know that being a part of this community and being around other individuals who want to see me succeed, I have a fighting chance to stay sober because I'm not doing it alone and because I'm not suffering in silence. I'm not ashamed to talk about the things that are in my head, even the dreams that I was just explaining to you. That's hard to talk about, especially if you've never been through addiction. You're not going to understand how warped your mind gets with these dreams. And I also stay sober because I do feel like people not so much that people are watching, but like if I can do it, if I can get sober, I promise you the next man can get sober. Cause I ain't nobody, you know what I'm saying? But it literally just takes staying in the moment. I know people say a day at a time, that's definitely, but if you could just stay in the moment, you don't even got to think about the rest of the day. Just stay right here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what slowly took the taste out of my mouth. Like, it's not that deep. I felt like not drinking was literally the end of my road. And it's not that deep. So if you're tapping in, I'm going to say, like I say on the other episodes, do not suffer in silence. Get help. We're a community. We're here for you. If you don't know where to start with 988. Pick up the phone, call 988. 988, they help with mental health and substance abuse, with homelessness. If they don't have the resources right there, they'll point you in the right direction. And that's all we really need is that first step. So everybody, like I said, we're in this together. We are a community. People need people. And on a daily, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just talking from lived experience, and I'm doing what I would want someone to have done for me when I was in my addiction. So I appreciate you guys tapping in. I appreciate the questions. I know some of our other episodes are a little bit longer, but I didn't want to just have a whole episode where I'm just rambling, you know. But I did want to bring up some of those topics that people were heavily in my inbox about. And we'll do it again. You know, if there's some stuff that you want to talk about that you feel like I need to really touch on, let me know. And if there's a topic that we haven't really touched yet, that you know that somebody is suffering from, please reach out to us, and we'll get it on the show. All right. So again, I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. Raw Recovery. Peace.